We've got Labor Secretary Hilda Solis standing by. And Madam Secretary, we just heard, of course, from Congressman John Boehner, the House Speaker, who says, look, this is still unacceptably high. And a lot of Americans are wondering, look, the unemployment rate is still above 8%. The jobs bill that we talked about the last time, Secretary, is now gone to pieces. What is the plan by the administration to create jobs?
Well, again, I think we need to reconsider the payroll tax extension because we know that 130 million families will lose out on that benefit. They'd have to pay an additional $1,000. So we need to extend that. We know that there's bipartisan support. And yes, the issue is how it's paid for. And this administration is looking at making sure that, again, the middle class is not overburdened with these high taxes and that we give them the relief they need. And we should be taxing those that can't afford to pay much more, which are those 2% of the higher earners, the millionaires and billionaires, so to speak. But I want to tell you that, last year in November, we were reporting 9.8% unemployment. This time around, it's at 8.6. It's still above 8%. Yes, it's high, and that's why we need to do more to extend the payroll tax and extend the UI benefits, the unemployment insurance benefits that'll help 5 million people who will also lose their benefits next year if we do nothing, which will also add to an increment or 2 percentage points higher unemployment rate if we do nothing. So yes, the urgency is to do something now.
But that's a separate issue, though, Secretary Solis, because that is just sort of maintaining the status quo right now and addressing those who are already unemployed or who are in their jobs already. But what about creating jobs, though, on that front? Creating jobs. What is the plan by the White House now?
Well, we're still going to move forward on the infrastructure proposals and also looking forward in seeing how we can help to incentivize businesses by lowering their taxes so that they can be incentivized to hire up more people, making those very critical investments. And we know that that's a big part of what we have to do. So I am looking overall where we've come from in the last 21 months. And I'll tell you that we have seen growth across the board in the private sector areas. We're seeing even in this jobs report where there are self-employed individuals that are now picking up the pace. And I think that these are good things. The path has been set by the president. We saw it happening last year in December when there was bipartisan support on tax credits and tax breaks. And we saw that people took advantage of that. There's more consumer confidence right now. You see the retail industry, leisure industry. You see some uppick also, again, in traditional areas like business and professions and in the healthcare industry. All these are good indicators. They're steady, they're slow, but nevertheless they are occurring, and we need to continue down that path.
Secretary Solis, it's Peter Cook here in Washington. Let me get your take on what happens to the payroll tax cut as well as the UI extension going forward, because there are conservative Democrats who I've been talking to on Capitol Hill who do have concerns about the price tag here and whether or not the country can simply afford to do that going forward, to extend those programs. What's your message to those Democrats? Because it's not clear you're going to get those.
Well, I'll tell you, I believe that, we will, I hope at the end of the day, find a compromise as we did last year. And it's really important to understand that you can't just continue to chop and cut away at very important services, that we have to have a balance. And there has to be, yes, a balance of fiscal constraint, but also we have to bring in some revenue. And I think the public is on our side about that issue. So it's pretty clear to me. But we can't afford not to address the issue of extending the unemployment and the payroll tax. We know that that will, again, lead us into crisis. And I don't think anyone, regardless of what party you're on, wants to see that happen.
Secretary Solis, just before I let you go, some of the Republicans say, look, the White House is just not turning a blind eye to some instant job creators. For instance, they could give a tax break to companies to repatriate their profits, and that would create jobs. They could approve the Keystone Pipeline, and that would create 20,000 jobs. Is the White House turning a blind eye to some easy initiatives to create jobs?
No, I don't think so, because we've also seen some major investments occurring in other areas. We continue to see outgrowth in areas to help continue with our development of our transmission system, which is also a job creator, investments in energy industries. And we know that the decision on the pipeline is still one that is going to be made down the line. It's not something that has been closed off. So I think that, we have to be very careful what people say. And obviously our concern is creating private sector jobs. And right now we know that the engine of growth is small businesses. So we need to push out these payroll taxes that will help them, incentivize people to hire folks up, and for consumers to have continued confidence in spending. And we're seeing that now with these two reports. In fact, we even saw an increase in our in our numbers from the last month because there was an increase. So we know that it's steady, but it is coming about.
Secretary Solis, thank you so much for joining us, and also, of course, to Peter Cook,
Thank you, Betty,
who is in our D.C. bureau.